some sound. Do we have sound? Okay, we have sound, great. The network society actually has sound, which is a good thing. Yes, well done. We have a hashtag for this event called, if you use Twitter, anybody here twittering? Who's twittering? Come on guys, don't be shy. Twitter, yeah, okay. You guys know what Twitter is, I hope, okay. Twitter, hashtag network society. We're going to take your questions in the conversation later. So if you Twitter, just add the hashtag network society, and I will take a look while we're talking. My name is Gerd Leonhard. I'm doing a brief intro today. I work as a futurist, and I will give you a brief estimation of what that sounds like. I will be doing a short introduction and a moderation of the other esteemed panelists. I'm very happy to have some really great people here today. So it's going to be rather mind-boggling, hopefully also with your questions. So what does a futurist do? This is my job. I think this is really everyone's job, but just listening to what actually goes on. And if you have kids, I think you know what I'm talking about here. This is my job as a futurist. I want to talk briefly about the network society. You realize this here is not the network society. This is the Roman Empire. Okay? The Roman Empire is quite different than this empire, which basically means we're moving from central, powerful entities like Disney, Universal Studios, Microsoft, AT&T, to network companies, Google, eBay, Skype, Amazon, maybe even Ericsson. Right? So we're becoming more like this. You guys recognize this? Facebook, of course, Facebook social graph. And a couple nights ago, I watched this on Twitter using a thing called Twitterfall, the hashtag of Mubarak's speech. You can check it out on YouTube. You can see all kinds of comments on why he's not leaving yet. So this is the network society where people are connecting to each other. And guess what they do on the internet, what we do on the internet? We connect with like-minded people. We connect with people who have similar ideas, similar likings, similar interests. That's the power of the internet. That's what we saw, of course, also in Egypt and other countries, connecting with people who have similar agendas, similar ideas. So now we're living in this world, roughly 2.2 billion people connected to the internet, 4.6 billion on mobile phones, which very soon is the same. And let me dispel with one myth, that is the myth of social media. Forget the word social media. There's no such thing. Really what we're doing here is a social operating system. The entire world is changing to become a mechanism, an interdependent ecosystem. It's not just about Facebook or YouTube, right? It's a much larger story. And this, unfortunately, for many of us in business, this is the story of the network society, is user control. As users, we love this idea. But as businesses, quite hard. Look at the music business. Anybody here from the music business? No? Good reason you're not here, because there's no money left. Okay, the music industry has felt this user control decline by 57% in 1 decade of revenues in the music business because of user control. So now our world looks more like this, a bit of a preview of the Refugees United people who are coming on stage later. This is a game called the Osani, and basically what we're seeing here, that in this network society, interconnected society, the co-creation becomes normal. That means we're creating things together, and the social networks are broadcasters. Imagine this, Facebook will have 1 billion users probably by the end of the year. Right now, every 6 minutes on the internet is spent on Facebook. Today, 12.8 billion minutes today spent on Facebook on the internet. Now tell me a single broadcaster like NBC, CBS, or BBC that has this kind of audience doesn't exist. Okay, as soon as Facebook gets a license to use video content and music, and so we have the biggest broadcaster in the world in Facebook. And this is what Mark is saying, Mark Zuckerberg, or Zuck, who started Facebook. This is what he's saying about his plans. Now you should listen, because that's very important. He says every industry in 5 years out is going to be rethought in a social way. That means technology, NGOs, governments, politics, education, media. This is a huge shift, and it has nothing to do with Twitter or Facebook. It has to do with the fact that we actually are interconnecting, making meaningful, hopefully, connections to each other. This spells severe disruption. And I'm saying this with optimism, right? Not with the music industry pessimism. Because disruption always brings opportunities for new ideas. I think this is clear. We're going to see complete convergence of real life and what people call meat space, what we have here. Right? The conversion of the two, where you can like a piece of furniture or a ride or a piece of food in a restaurant, where we have new currencies. Anybody know about Facebook credits? We used to joke 2 years ago in the music business that you can pretty soon pay your landlord with Facebook money. That is becoming a reality. You can pay real-life products like airplane tickets with Facebook money. So we're looking at new currencies, parallel currencies, Kachingle, Flatter, and so on. Now companies used to be this, towers, empires, monologues. Now companies become platforms. And I think that's also the mission behind the theme here of Ericsson, to tell you that your company has to become a platform, has to become networked and social, in parentheses. Here's the toughest mission. We used to say that everything that matters is growth, making more money, return on investment, selling stuff. Now what people are telling us around the web, it's interaction before transaction. It's not the tiny fan anymore, but the fan now comes before the customer. You can see that in the media business, Netflix, newspapers, Huffington Post, first a fan, then a buyer. And that's true for everything, not just for the media business. The following mantra that Twitter has, this is why you should do Twitter, because you can learn the following paradigm. And of course, they're completely interrelated. So in the content industry, the biggest challenge is we're moving from this copying idea, iTunes or CDs, to an access idea. Spotify, Netflix, subscription services, and so on, which is a huge challenge for the media industry around the world, but also a huge opportunity. I found this when I was looking for control. I was Googling. I found this interesting fish graph here saying that all of a sudden it's all the big fish, small fish, chasing the big fish, which is again the sort of network society idea. Now we're very close to France, where there is a law that you can be kicked off the internet if you download illegally. Okay. We're seeing this drive around the world with Hadopi and ACTA and 3 strikes and all these laws. Basically, my prediction on this would be, if you enforce control, when you need to have trust and engagement, it will kill you. Look at the music industry. They've tried to enforce control for 10 years. Where has it left them? Rich lawyers, no users. Okay? If you're a lawyer, that's good for you. Actually, that's not a bad thing if you're a lawyer, but it's bad for consumers. Right? So that won't work. I think we're going to see this kind of society. This is not a good solution for our future. All the rules of law from 50 years ago, that no longer apply. Or they may still apply, but they're not very useful. So now we have to go about reconstructing permissions and getting used to what a network society actually does. We have to rethink the toll booth, who pays whom for what. When you read a newspaper on the web, who should pay? Should the advertisers pay? Should I pay? Should Google pay? Right? That we have to discuss all of these things. We have to remind ourselves that the most important thing in today's society is not the fire hose of information. That was a big deal 10 years ago. Now it's about relevant experience. It's all about relevance and about meaning, not about volume. Why do I care to download 60 million songs? I just want to hear 2 good ones. So that's really what we're seeing in a network situation. It's more about all these things. Anybody here play Farmville? Yeah? Anyone? Farmville? Come on. It's okay. Farmville is a game on Facebook that last year made $360 million. That's selling virtual tractors. And we're seeing this around the web, what I call the gamification. Like Foursquare. You guys use Foursquare? I saw a demo this morning. It's a game, right? It's a game. So we're seeing a gamification of society, which is kind of interesting. We're seeing this thing where data is becoming the new oil. When I speak in the Middle East, this is not a very popular message, but users are content themselves now, and the next slide says it, data is the new oil. If you want to remember one thing from my long-winded talk, remember this. Data is the new oil. All the stuff that we generate, our forwards, our likes, our stuff that we log in, what we share with people, that generates trillions of dollars worth of stuff that other people want to get into. We'll talk about that later in that panel discussion, but of course you can see the average user on the internet has become from $9 to $46 worth just based on advertising. And if you look at the market cap of Google versus the old content guys, CBS and so on, Google is a data company, doesn't even sell content, and it's bigger than all of the other guys. So content is important, but data is the new oil. And now we come to this thorny issue that we're going to discuss later, the issue of privacy. There is a lot of discussion about privacy, publicy, as Jeff Jarvis says, and I would call it vibrancy and mindfully. The whole idea about why are you not private, why are you public? We're going to discuss that on the panel. Two more important points before we go into the panel. There is this trend of what I call nowness. Everything is about current information. When I go to eat sushi in London, I'm not interested in what Google thought was good last year. I'm interested in today and here. So it's about now and here, not yesterday and there. And finally, as Marshall McLuhan has said, 1971, the global village is not about harmony, peace, and quiet. It's about considerable amount of chaos and experimentation. And that's what we're seeing in a network society. These things will not be harmonious and peaceful entirely. They will be based on lots of aberrations, like the Wi-Fi scale that twitters your weight, as you can see down here, or game stations in the bathroom. So I thank you very much for listening to my short pitch on the network society. I'm going to bring up